French, so he changed the spelling of it. But I have other family members who have a different spelling of the name as well. So they changed the G to a Y, but didn't switch the N and the I. So there's 4 different spellings of my last name that I've seen. Like people that are related to me have spelled my name, last name 4 different ways. So
what's the meaning? What's the meaning of the name again?
Man of Spirit.
So can we confirm that the word mayonnaise does not actually mean man of spirit? There's an actual chance it does.
I should actually make have our own brand of mayonnaise that's called mayonnaise.
Oh, absolutely.
We're coming out with that.
French. What are the nicknames that you get?
Besides mayonnaise, one was in high school. The baseball coach. I almost played baseball for a little bit. He used to call me Nice, because when I played basketball, when I was skinny when I was young before I hit the weight room, and I'm a nice guy. I didn't always play physical and tough on the basketball court, so he was like, "You're too nice. You play like me nice. You need to play like me mean."
That's funny. Did
you ever get the Jerome is in the house from Martin?
Yes, I did that a lot. Actually, my first year, I dressed up like Jerome, like the character Jerome from Martin. I had the wig and everything. I put some gold paper in my mouth. I had the teeth. I was going around, Jerome in the house.
What do you know about the Jerome from back in the day? Chili sauce.
Chili sauce.
Morris Day and the Time. Jerome. Mark, you know that one. TW, you know that one.
I don't remember Jerome chili sauce.
Jerome was Morris Day's guy that did everything for him. Jerome, give my whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I know all the Jerome has got some landmarks in New York City too, right? We got a lot of Jeromes there. But I remember Ty getting the first Jerome is in the house. That was hilarious. Anyway, Jerome, you have to know Dougie Fresh is so excited to have you on. He spent a lot of time in Brazil and talks about it often and absolutely loved his time there, right? And I think there probably, TW could attest this, 3 things he talks about in almost every conversation he has with us, right? One is Brazil, right? TW, you know the other 2, right?
Yeah, we're not going to go
Brian Stith, right? And typically Corey, right?
Yeah. That's foreshadowing right there for the record.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but
I'm talking about outside his family and kids.
I don't blame him for talking about Brazil so much because I'm
so happy he had that experience because he clearly loved it, and that's awesome. He talks about it. I'm ready to move there.
Yeah, seriously.
So Jerome, I'm kind of like infamously known for my mouth on this thing because I kind of don't hold back. I'm a little bit rated R just in terms of verbiage. So maybe tonight, every time when I have a special word, I'll go Portuguese for him. I'll go Brazil.
Okay. All right.
Porra.
Jerome,
that's your first word that you got to learn because that's the thing you'll hear the most when you go there.
Well, don't tell us. We'll Google it later.
No, the Google, it doesn't translate.
It doesn't translate. It's one of those words that you can use in a lot of different contexts. What would you say the English equivalent to that would be? Since your verbiage, the shit doesn't translate.
That's why it's great. Like when I'm in Brazil, I'm Brazilian. When I'm in the U.S., I'm American. My Brazilian side's really good.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you mentioned earlier you almost played baseball. Maybe start with how did you get into basketball?
I get into basketball. So again, my dad. No one pushed me into basketball. I was just tall. And, played, Breck at what does that even mean? Little club basketball, 9 or 10 years old. I was actually shared a funny story. So again, when I'm younger, I'm trying to increase my athleticism once I started liking basketball around middle school. I remember I got ankle weights, which are terrible that we know now, but anything to, increase my vertical. I used to put on ankle weights and jump with them. And like one of the songs I used to like jump around and stuff was "Jumpin' Jumpin'" by Destiny's Child. So I'd have that blasting in the living room, doing high knees, jumping up and down, doing whatever it takes, trying to get more athleticism. So yeah, it really became passionate for me in high school because I was 6'3" as a freshman and still couldn't dunk. And my teammates let me have it. And like, it drove me nuts. And they were making fun of me all the time. So I got the jump soles. I had everything. And like, I was on the internet trying to find, this is dial-up internet, by the way.
Right.
Trying to find something to help me increase my jump. So I finally got there. I finally, was able to dunk. And it was like a moment where my teammates were teasing me and the coach kind of looked at me and threw me the ball. And I just went, boom, dunked it. And then, that kind of gratification, everybody started going crazy and stuff like that. So that just started my work ethic. And then obviously I grew tall. I was kind of in the right place at the right time. And that's really kind of what pushed me into, you're really committed to basketball, see where it can take you.
So a fairly broad question, and if you can answer this in 2 or 3 sentences, what was it like for you growing up in Baton Rouge? And before that, when did your family arrive in Baton Rouge?
They arrived. My parents met in Baton Rouge. My mom's from Jamaica, so they met in Baton Rouge in the 80s. They were both working at Southern University. My mom was already a professor at that point, and my dad was a computer technician. And her computer kept breaking down, and he had to come keep fixing it. So that's the story I was told. And
yeah, I think Pops was making sure the computer broke down more often.
Whatever it takes.
He wasn't leaving it repaired.
Right. Glitch. If then go to glitch.
Yeah, or it could have been the other way around. Oh no,
right.
My computer's broke. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I just
the point.
I let them tell me the story, and I accepted it. But growing up in Baton Rouge, in 2 or 3 sentences, it was essentially growing up in the South. I cannot speak badly of Baton Rouge because I didn't really have bad experiences. Baton Rouge has treated me very well. I grew up in a nice neighborhood. I went to good schools. I learned. I had great people. I have friends that I'm still friends with that I met in 3rd grade. So I can't speak badly on Baton Rouge at all. And then also in that time was kind of a golden era for Baton Rouge in the sense that we had good basketball at that time. Tyrus Thomas, I played with him in high school. Glenn Big Baby Davis was at a rival high school. Brandon Bass at a rival high school. Marcus Thornton at a rival high school. And we had a lot of guys in that era that played overseas like myself. So it was kind of a golden era in Baton Rouge that we had guys that were playing basketball. So I love Baton Rouge in the sense that this is home where the heart is. Do I see myself living here after I finally settle down in the United States? Probably not.
No, how big, like how many high schools in Baton Rouge? I have no idea how big it is. 30,000 people, 200,000? I have no clue.
Baton Rouge.
Without the students.
How many high schools in Baton Rouge? That's a great
question. You went to McKinley High School? Am I right?
Yeah, I went to McKinley.
So one of my best friends from my work time, a guy named Lars Kessner, shout out Lars. He's from Baton Rouge, and he went to McKinley, and I think he went to the gifted and talented school.
Right.
And we always make fun of it. Is that the same spot?
Gifted and talented too. You can make fun of me.
No, it's just funny because we always, and he's, like you guys are gifted and talented and smart, but it's just funny that's my connection. I always notice though, like on the news, there's me and him always do the same thing. When shit pops off, some weird story, it's always like in Baton Rouge. Like there was that gas station thing back in the day, Baton Rouge, something that I don't know. Is that accurate or am I like?
I've had some strange stories in Baton Rouge, like strange stories in my schools and stuff like that. So yeah, again, like whenever it's in the news, it's never a good thing.
Right, that's fair. That's a good point.
So what was it like hearing from Virginia? Is that a school that you'd ever heard of, thought of? Like when did that become an option or a thing?
Yeah, so my recruiting process was unique in the sense that I didn't play much AAU during high school. So, I played a little bit at the end of between my junior year and senior year, and then got recruited by Rice, went on my visit. I was about to go to Rice because, I was looking for a good school, but I just wanted a bigger school. I'd always wanted to leave Louisiana. LSU was not an option. Tulane was really out. It just wasn't an option. I knew that there was a bigger world out there. And again, that was from the influence of my parents. Like I knew there was a bigger world out there, and I had to leave Louisiana. So I start my fourth year. Again, Virginia's still not on the radar. I had a couple schools recruit me during the year on and off. And then I get to the end and I play in a tournament in May at this point. And UVA had come there to see somebody else. And I kicked his butt. And then they started talking to the Tulane coach, asking, who is this guy? Why isn't he, recruited somewhere already? Does he have a trouble pass, something? And he said, no, both his parents are professors. He wants to leave the state. He just hasn't found the right school yet. So after that tournament was over, we got on the phone. I was up in UVA the next week or so on a visit. And it was during finals, so no one was there. The only teammates I met Jason Kane, I met Mamadi Dion, and I met Sean Singletary. Everybody else was either gone or busy. Those are the only three people I met the coaching staff. The school was empty at that point. But I just knew that was the place for me to go. I didn't even take my other visits. And I was just like, all right, I'll go to UVA. So UVA entered the radar in May, and I was enrolled in summer classes in June.
Wow.
Who recruited you from UVA? Which coach?
Lanier. Coach Lanier.
Rob.
Did your parents try to encourage you to go to a HBCU?
Ironically, they both work at an HBCU.
Right. That's why I asked. Yeah.
Right. No, they were upset. I would say this. They were upset that I didn't go to Rice. And when I turned down Rice, they were like, well, you're gonna go to Southern. And I was like, not yet. Wait, be patient. Something else will come up. But that was as far as it went. I never had any intention of going to Southern. If I were going to go to HBCU, it would have been, the school right in my backyard. But no, I never had any intention.
One of the reasons I bring that up
is you had that thing where you wanted to get out, so I get that. Rice is no joke too. Right,
great school. One of the reasons I bring up
all great schools
to you is because of the recent commitment by McCormaker, right? Going to Howard, right? Would you ever think that would happen?
Now more than ever, because again, 10 years ago, you would want to go to a big school because that was your pathway. Trying to help you get to the next level. If it's not the NBA, overseas, that name meant a lot.
Yeah.
It still means a lot. But now in the age of the internet, it's so easy to have access to information and find people and things like that. Because, look at the ease of how many how easily they find guys from overseas and bring them over. And obviously that's a lot harder than trying to find somebody at HBCU. So going to an HBCU, you become a legend at their school. You go there, you play well, you can bring a lot of attention to them, you become the guy. And then you can still make it to the NBA or wherever you want to get to, because they can see your tape, they can see how good you are, and if you're good enough, you're gonna make it.
Yep, that is all true. They can find you anywhere. So you arrived to Charlottesville when you were 17 years old.
Yeah, my parents had to sign my compliance papers. They had to sign. I could not, because I wasn't 18. I couldn't sign my own waiver. I had to get my parents to sign.
When's your birthday?
December 18th.
So okay, so you weren't even going to be 18 for a few more months.
Right.
5 or 6 more months.
Yeah. Wow. So you graduated. You graduated in 10th grade then? I think I was 17 in 10th grade.
No, I started school at 4. I didn't skip any grades. I just started school at 4 because back then the rule was if you turned 5 that year, you could start school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but since then they've changed it. And that, I mean, it
That's
hurt
young,
me
man.
that I was always the youngest. So like,
Of course.
if it's as an athlete, if I'd have been, held back a year, that would have helped me a lot more. Like being older, more mature, because especially growing up, that year difference in a male is huge.
Huge.
Oh, dude, 14 versus 12. Some dudes like already growing the whole thing. So were your parents not pushing you for sports? They were just like academics, or yourself or whatever?
Not at all. All the way until even when I graduated UVA, I had applied to some grad schools and even got some money to go to different grad schools. And my parents were like, all right, yeah, he's going to grad school. They just knew I was going to grad school. And I told them, I was like, I'm gonna go play basketball, and they just couldn't fathom that. Like I had to get Coach Sanchez to kind of help me out. Like he talked to my parents and kind of calmed them down, kind of explained the landscape, everything like that. So yeah, they were all about education from birth.
That's awesome.
That's how they got to the United States. So that's the path that they knew that worked.
And you said they weren't thrilled when you decided not to go to Rice. How were they thrilled when you decided to go to UVA?
Yeah, at that point, I will admit this. I was a huge Duke fan before I.
Oh man.
Yeah. I was.
Why were you a Duke fan?
Because again, it was a good academic school and a good basketball school. So why wouldn't I like it? So I had like a little Duke basketball from like one of those fairs. You got to make it in those rectangular hoops. I made one. I wore the Duke basketball. I had a Duke shirt. It was disgusting. So I mean, in my mind, I was like, I got accepted into Duke, and I was like, worst case scenario, I'll just walk on at Duke. Well, that's where my head was. So I was walking on. But again, once UVA came in the radar and I got a scholarship, I mean, that became easy. I'm going to UVA over spending $40,000 a year at Duke.
40 what?
At that time. So what were your expectations? What were your expectations going into your first year at UVA academically? Because we know how serious you are as a student, and we know where your parents were coming from. What were your expectations on the court and academically?
Academically, I mean, so my mom's an econ professor. My dad was a math professor. So the first question I got asked at UVA is like, what class do you want to take this summer? And my mom was like, take econ. So like, I just got pushed into that. So I just started doing that, and I ended up becoming an econ major and minoring in math just because I started it later.
Nice.
So it was essentially what I've been taught since birth. Like my mom would always come in teaching me economic principles because that's what college professor moms do.
Shout out Ed Burton.
Yeah, shout out Ed Burton. No, Ed Burton's not. Yeah, but shout out Ed Burton. What's the biggest economic principle your mom stuck in your head? If you had to pick one, elasticity, blah 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 blah. What?
Just everything is affected by demand and supply.
Thank you.
Everything is affected by demand and supply.
Yes, it's supply and demand, no question. I have a funny econ story. Maybe I'll tell it later. It's not your stuff's more interesting. Long story short, macroeconomics did not go well for me.
Yeah, so my expectations off the court were just, get a UVA degree because it means a lot. So I was on course to do that. On the court, I mean, especially at 17, my expectations were high. Like I wanted to play. I thought I was good enough to play. I thought I was good enough to beat out the guys that I was ahead of. I wanted to put on a lot of weight. I think I was 220 when I came in. And I wanted to get to 240 immediately, not knowing how hard it is to put on weight at 17 years old. Right. But, my expectations were high. Didn't really, didn't meet my expectations after everything, but my expectations were definitely high. I definitely wanted to come in and, be as good as possible.
Was there a welcome to UVA ACC basketball moment for you, either in practice?
Absolutely. So at this point, it's 2000. It's June or July 2006. We hadn't moved over to JPJ yet, so we're still in U-Haul, and we're playing pickup, and it's just the load of everything. You're taking classes, college classes for the first time. You're working out 3-4 times a day, the hardest level of it. So, like, it takes its toll. And that's why the summer is so important, is to get you adjusted to that before school starts. Mm-hmm. So I'm adjusting to all of this. We're playing pickup one time, and Jason Kane makes a move, and I didn't fall because of the move. I will go to my grave saying this. I fell because I stepped on his foot. But the moment I fell, the game was over. Everybody just laughing and carrying on, and everybody just walked off the court. I was like, is that how we're going to end? Like, yes. Laughing
Yo, Jerome, it was probably the flies in U-Haul. Did you remember that? There were always flies in that motherfucker.
It was.
You probably got hit by a fly. My bad. I forgot.
Yeah, U-Haul, it was. I'm glad I got a piece of it because it made me appreciate JPJ even more. So those 2-3 months that we were there, like
that's a great way to put it.
Just everything about it, just the heat in the gym and in the locker room, everything. Just it really made me appreciate the JPJ. So when I walked in there, I was like, yes.
Home.
And now dudes like our boy the maestro here, Mark Jerome's son. After practice, he's got like 4 shakes made for him, Chipotle in the thing, ping pong table.
And he's like,
they don't get it.
Yeah.
So shakes weren't a problem. Like shakes were stuffed down my throat while I was there because I was trying to stay away. No, like they had the little pint cartons, milk cartons.
Yeah, it was Nutrafrim.
500 calories a piece. I used to drink 6 a day.
Wow.
Trying to put on weight. So shakes were never an issue for us. The thing was food. And it still burns me. It still hurts me that they couldn't give us food while I was there. Right. So like I'm using my meal card. I'm trying to beg for extra meals because you don't want to spend your own money. You try to get as many.
Treehouse.
So every time I go back, and I go back every summer, I take as much food as they allow me to take. They take those sandwiches and stuff. They got everything. Chipotle, Jimmy John's, chefs, everything like that. So I go in there. Whatever they don't eat, I'm taking with me. I was like, I'm still making up for 4 years that I didn't get anything.
Oh, Jerome, I go ahead of them.
I think that rule was changed in 2014.
Right.
Schools can get whatever they want for the athletes, right? In terms of food, provide as much food as they want.
From the beginning, like you're gonna withhold food, right. And I'm trying to gain weight. You gonna withhold food from me? That hurts me still to this day.
That's tremendous.
Had you had conversations with Leitao? How many had you had before you committed and when you got to campus?
Again, it was quick. Everything was a quick turnaround. So when I was done with that tournament that they saw me in, they called my parents. They were like, okay, everything's done. And I was talking to Coach Lanier a little bit. And then I was on a plane. I was there. So obviously I talked to him during the recruiting process, everything like that. But then once I was there, we didn't really see eye to eye. Because in his mind, I had just come there to get a degree, which was not true and it wasn't fair. Like I did everything above and beyond to be the best basketball player I could be while I was at UVA. But in his head, I was only there for the degree and he used that against me at times. Like I remember what he said one time to me, basketball is not a book. You can't take everything literally. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And one time he yelled at me because, he's infamous for yelling at his players. Yeah. He's like, I messed up one time and he yells like, this isn't calculus class. Looking back at it was funny. It's funny now, but like in the moment, like what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. Wait, what is calculus for the record?
funny thing, I haven't done calculus in 10 years. So
Real
Right.
useful
And
that was.
you may never do it again.
right.
So he was basically mad at you for being smart. Like my bad, yo, I'm smart. You know, I do good at it.
Pretty much. And in 3 years, how many face-to-face conversations did we have? Maybe 4, I can say. I could probably count them on one hand. One of them was after the Arizona game, the first game at JPJ.
Mm-hmm.
So first game at JPJ, everybody, it was the top 10 team. Everybody's there. JPJ's packed. Everything's going crazy. And we won that game. But again, up until that point with the practice and everything like that, I'd expected to play. So again, at that time, I was upset. I was upset. So everybody's congratulating the next day, and it just hurt me because everybody's congratulating. I didn't play. So I remember the next day at practice, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't smile. I just went after the guys who were ahead of me that played. I kicked their butt that day. So then after that practice, he talked to me. He's like, yeah, I was thinking about using you. But, I didn't, I went to the guys I was comfortable with, everything like that. So that was one. And then for the rest of those 3 years, maybe 3 more one-on-one conversations like that. That's it.
Wow.
Did your morale change? How was your morale throughout the 3 years? I mean, it had to be really tough not playing, and that's why sometimes why student athletes pick a school to play their sport. And if you're not getting an opportunity, it's got to be difficult.
It was difficult. After my second year, I don't think I've even talked about this publicly before, but after my second year, I was thinking about transferring. But what kept me is like I was already so involved in the university at that point that I was like, I couldn't leave. I felt like I couldn't leave. I felt like UVA had already become a home to me that I couldn't leave. So then after my third year, it got really bad because it had gotten to the point like he tried to make me quit. He didn't say it out loud. No, I said it out loud, but like just based on like how he was playing guys, and like we were at Clemson getting beaten by 40 and everybody played except me. So he tried to get me to quit, but I wasn't going to quit because again, at that point in my head, I was going to head to Wall Street, do something with the econ and math degree, and I was not giving up the UVA degree. So I was going to keep my mouth closed, and he couldn't get rid of me because I did nothing wrong ever. So I was going to keep my mouth closed, finish out my last year, get it done, and just do it like that. So again, the morale, like they had some spikes first year, second year. And I remember third year, this goes back to you have to have a relationship with your coach, because the only game I started under the Leitao era was against USF. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And I knew I was terrified, and I knew I needed to talk to somebody, but because I had zero relationship with Coach Leitao, I didn't talk to him, and I went out there, and that nervousness showed. So then I go out there, first couple minutes, I play bad, I come out, and, he's yelling at me, trying to fire me up, but that wasn't the way to communicate with me. And I didn't go back in the game, and that was pretty much it. After that game, that was my career at UVA before he left.
Did you talk to your parents at all when you were thinking about transferring, and what were their reaction?
It never got to that point. It never got to me talking to my parents. I think I talked to my ex-girlfriend at the time. I kind of talked to her about it and like just airing it out. It didn't feel like the right thing to do because again, I was so involved with the university. It had already become my home. I was like, I can't leave here. It just wouldn't be. It wouldn't have been the right thing to do. I didn't feel right leaving, and I had to stick it out.
I was gonna say,
I had a quick question. When you say you were involved in the university, was it like, were you like an imp? Were you in a fraternity? Were you club? I don't know. Or just like you're so ingrained in the school. I was interested.
I am a Z. I was the SAC. I don't think I was in the. I was the SAC. I was a Student Athlete Advisory Committee member.
Yep.
And I went on to become the president later. And I was also part of the Student Athlete Mentors. And there was another program called ACE, which was when, I forgot what that stood for, but we went in elementary schools and we helped and tutored a little bit. So those things and like,
Yep.
just the friendships that I had already started to make there. And I love the campus so much. I love everything about it. It just was the basketball part wasn't going the way that I wanted to.
Well, don't forget the Seven Society. Oh, never mind. We're not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah,
my
we
bad.
can't.
My bad.
Yeah, we got to educate.
I forgot.
Educate MJ about that later.
I forgot about that.
So Jerome, all my dudes from my time, I was never invited to any society, and they're like, "Yo, Fresh, we know why, because you're something else." And I'm like, no comment. But Mark, I don't know. Mark, do you know about this? The secret societies at UVA?
I've only heard it mentioned, but no one's ever explained it to me.
Yeah, so we have an actual real Z here. They paint the Z's around. I don't know. You tell if you want to talk about a Jerome or not. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'll just say that the point of it is service. So doing service behind a symbol. So like instead of Jerome doing something for somebody, it's behind a symbol so you don't know. It's so it's selfless service. That's the point of it. So again, the Z's, we reveal ourselves at graduation. And then we just go on from there. But like, for example, they take it to their grave. Yeah. The imps reveal themselves immediately, and they pride themselves on, trying to disrupt the Z's to make the sevens look better. So, little rivalry. There's always inner rivalries in everything you deal with. But the main point of all of these societies is service, selfless service behind the symbol.
Yeah.
So at this point, you have a major, a minor, you're in 4 different groups, and you're committing a bunch of time to basketball. What's your GPA like?
I finished, my worst semester was actually my first semester. I had a 3.2 that semester because I had to kind of pick up the rhythm. Once I picked it up, I finished with a 3.6, if my memory serves me correctly.
I didn't know it went that high at Virginia, 3.6.
I graduated cum laude, I want to say.
Wow, man.
This has been 10 years. But no, once I got into my rhythm, and again, I was doing things that I had learned for a long time. They just, gradually got more complicated.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I became very efficient in what I did. My ex-girlfriend at the time was also an econ major, so like that helped me when I'm traveling and stuff like that. I can get the notes and stuff from her. It takes a team to be able to really do well academically and play a sport, especially basketball that's so time demanding. It takes a team. So like I have friends in all my classes, so if I miss time, I was like, well, what did he just say? I used to get notes, copy notes, things like that. Like I could not have done that by myself.
I was going to say, so what you're going through all this, and not obviously the guys on the team aren't necessarily all as dedicated as you. Everybody has their own priorities. Did you feel like you're still a part of the team, or did you feel like an outcast at that point?
No, I always felt part of the team. I was very good at kind of I don't want to say molding myself, but like I'm good at getting along with everybody. Because you kind of mold your personality to get along with the group that you're with.
Profile switching.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that, by the way. That's pretty obvious.
So are you? So things are unfolding on the court, and you're seeing kind of the end of the Leitao era, so to speak. Did you see that coming? Was the writing on the wall for you on the inside? Like,
yeah. Again, like I was getting ready to interview, and I was thinking about doing an internship between my 3rd and 4th year. I saw the writing on the wall. I saw the writing because again, going in my 4th year, if I don't play my first 3 years, why would he play me my last year? So I was getting prepared for life post
Basketball.
post basketball.
So how did you find out about Coach Bennett?
When he got hired. Because
Can I stop you for a second? Can I stop you? How did you find out about Leitao first?
Oh yeah.
What was the decision on Leitao? At what point did you either sit down with the team or were you told
The
Leito's
athletic
out?
director? Yeah. Who told you?
We were all called in after the season. It was funny because a lot of us were scared because the year before when we lost to Bradley, we thought that we were about to get punished. We thought that it was about to be 6 a.m. practices and running until you throw up like it had been the year before. So we're all expecting the worst. Like, oh my goodness, here we go again. Because we had another disappointing end to the season. So we all get called in there. It's very solemn and everything. And he says, I'm stepping down and, I'm leaving. And everybody was like serious and quiet. A couple guys really emotional, stormed out. And that's how the news given to us in the film room. The whole team was called in there and he gave us the news like that. But it was for me, I was sad at first because, it's changed. It's like you really know how to react in that moment. So I was sad at first, afterwards, a couple guys went up to his office, kind of just, let him talk for a little bit, how he feels. Then I got out, and then I remember I called my dad, and my dad was elated. He was like, good.
I know. I was to say, if I was you, I'd have been fist pumping. But
right, he's like, good. I'm glad he's out there, good.
Yeah, Jerome, I was going to say, really? That was really your honest reaction?
It was. And then when I got on the phone with him, he was like, good. And I got off the phone, I was like, yeah, that is good, isn't it? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, okay. So then how we found out about Coach Bennett. So Coach Littlepage called everyone. We all met with him. Kind of just our thoughts of where the basketball program should go, who we thought should be the next candidate. I thought it was going to be Toby Smith. I thought he was going to come from Minnesota. So that's what I said. I was like, love to have him, everything like that. But, obviously Littlepage made the right decision being Coach Bennett. I didn't know about him before, but, he came in, met with the whole team, met with us individually. And, yeah, the rest was history.
And did you immediately? Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead.
Did you and Bennett have an initial meeting? Did he meet with every player individually?
I know he met with us as a team because I remember us asking who did he think was better, Kobe or LeBron? That was a team question. Like this is our introduction to Coach Bennett, and that was one of the questions that we asked him: who's better, Kobe or LeBron? And there was only one right answer at the time, but his response was Jordan. He's like, yeah, he's like, Jordan's the most important. So he avoided the question.
Right.
Perfect answer. So he avoided the question completely. I'm sure we had a one-on-one meeting after that. I just can't remember it exactly. But yeah, he basically told me like, he's going to evaluate everybody. Like everybody has a fair shot. It's not that, because you're about to be a fourth year, I'm kind of just going to sit you to the side. It's like everybody has a fair shot. The best players are going to play. The players that do what, I ask are going to play. And that was it for me. I was like, well, I get another shot. Let me get to work and try to revive my career.
Did you take him at face value and really believe what he was saying? Or were you like, nah?
Yeah, because, I took him at face value because if I did, I had a second opportunity. If I didn't, then I would have been in the same position that I was already. Like, again, I had already made plans, and, if he sat me on the bench and didn't play me, then I just continue with the path that I was already going on. Right. So I took it at face value. I was renewed energy, renewed spirit, and just went after it 100%.
And did you see the change right away? Did you feel it right away in terms of like the practice, the mood, the things? Did you feel a change?
Right. Yeah, I did, because I ended up I started at the beginning of that season. So I started at the beginning of that season. I was playing well for a while, and then kind of had a dip. And then when I had the dip, I got taken out of the starting lineup. A sign got placed in there. So again, it's whoever's playing well, whoever's playing the best. So then, by the time we got back to ACC, I had won my spot back and played, and kind of that's when my career started to take off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took him at face value, and he, like he said, he's a man of his word. He said, the best players who play, the guys that work the hardest, do what we asked them to do. Those are the guys that play.
Yo, so why that season? Why do you think you started as opposed to where you were before? Why'd you start for Tony Bennett in the early part? You defended, whatever. I don't know. What's the reason you think that he started you?
Almost to a fault. Well, I guess to a fault. Like, I was always the player that I would do exactly what you asked me to do. I would do just to the best. I would run through a brick wall for you as a player. Tell me what you need me to do, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do for you. So again, with Leitao, that didn't work because again we weren't on the same page. She just again had this whole idea that I wasn't there to play basketball or anything like that. But for Coach Bennett, that was exactly what he wanted, especially at my position to be in the back line of the pack defense. I'm there. I'm calling out commands. I'm always in position. I'm always ready to help. I'm willing to take the charge. I'm always willing to do any little thing, sprint down the court, get back on defense. I was willing to do all the dirty work. I didn't care about scoring anything. Told me what you wanted me to do. I did it the best of my ability, and that's what he was looking for.
Are you sure there's no soft spot in Tony Bennett's heart for calculus? He might actually
I need to ask him. Coach Bennett, what did you study while you were in school? Is there some backstory why he gave you a second chance? I'll ask him the next time I see him.
Nah, it totally makes sense, man.
Whatever it was, TB must have loved it because your minute production increased by over 13 minutes. Your point production increased by more than 5 points. You went from 1.7, I'm sorry, just under 5 points. You went from 1.7 to 6.5 points a game. Right, your free throw percentage went up from 59% to nearly 75%.
And another big thing was a confidence issue. So, like, that coaching staff, the entire staff, gave me confidence. Basically, the confidence I was looking for since I'd come in at 17 that I'd never really received. I won't say that. Coach Lanier instilled me with confidence. He was always behind me. He was always trying to push me. But then once he left, that left with it.
Yeah.
And I at that point in my career, that stage of my life, I needed that. I needed somebody to, Jerome, you can do this. Jerome, okay, we have confidence. You come on, let's do this. But I didn't have that, and that I think attributed to me not playing well. Again, like I said about the USF game, I didn't have the confidence, and I didn't have anybody to talk to about it.
Right.
Isn't that amazing how that works? When someone believes in you, how much you can produce.
Exactly.
I would say
later, I'm still playing, and my other teammates, most of them aren't even playing anymore.
I would say that as a fan, most of us at that point, when we saw what you could do, had wished we had another year. Like, did that cross your mind too? Were you like, dang, I should have maybe redshirted, or was that?
Absolutely. Hindsight is 20/20. I'm coming in, I'm 17, and then based on his offense, I was fourth string.
Yeah.
So why not redshirt your 17-year-old who's your fourth string player?
Right.
But
shame.
It is what it is.
It all worked out in the end.
So who were you battling out your second and third years that you started playing more than your fourth year?
Well, I was battling Tunji Soroye, Lars. We call him Lars. I forgot. Nikolauskas, yeah. And then Ryan Petnella. So those are the three guys that were ahead of me my first 3 years. Because Tunji stayed another year, but he got injured. He medical redshirted. But then Ryan left after 2. But yeah, those are the guys I was competing with.
Right. So what did you think of Bennett at the end of the season? I mean, the team wasn't so successful, but clearly you had to be really happy. Your morale had to have been uplifted. And personally, you had to be feeling pretty good, right? And you're still, I'm sure, you got your GPA going on. You got to be happy on the court. On the grounds, you were probably still involved with your groups, with your social groups.
I'll say this. I'm still convinced that snowstorm in 2010 that messed us up. That threw off our rhythm completely. We were 3-0 in the ACC when that snowstorm happened. And we had to, I forget exactly what happened, but a game got changed because of it, and a game got canceled. And at one point, we had to stay at the law school because there was so much snow on the ground that it was worried that we couldn't get from our apartment to the stadium. And even that game against Wake Forest, they let anybody who could come to the game come.
Right.
And I had some friends paint their chests with everyone had a letter. It was 6 of us. 6 of them had a letter on their chest, and they ran through the snow bare-chested to come to that game. And then we lost that game in overtime. But like I will always say that snowstorm messed up our rhythm. That snowstorm doesn't happen, we finished at the top of the ACC that year because we definitely had potential. We played pretty much everybody close. But yeah, we got to the end of the year, and I remember a reporter asking me after the Maryland game, after senior night, and we lost, and like that's when Coach Bennett got the text for taking off his jacket after that charge call. He's like, "Are you upset at Coach Bennett for that call, or you think that could have changed the game?" And I looked at him, and I was like, "Well, he gave me the opportunity to be on the court. I wouldn't have even been on the court to get that 50-50 call going the other way if he hadn't given me the opportunity. So, of course, I'm not upset." So, like, our relationship is great. So, 10 years later, I was there in February. And it's like I never left. Everybody just embraced me, that whole coaching staff and everything. Yeah. It's truly a family concept. And he had a reunion last summer. He invited all 10 years of players that he had coached while at UVA. There was a ton of us there. And
that's cool.
Had a pool party, brought everybody back, even the staff that had worked before, the old coaches who moved on, they all came back. And that just shows that how much people love and care about Coach Bennett because they all made that effort to come back, and he can unite all of his players from the past 10 years in that fashion.
Do you remember the end of your 4th year and you guys lost, I think, 9 in a row?
Yeah, that was a tough little stretch. Again, post snowstorm, it killed us. It killed us.
Snow. It was the snow, Mark.
It was the snow. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana. That was my first time seeing snow was at Virginia my first year, and then just having that huge snowstorm, it took my rhythm away. I'm taking that one to the grave too. It was the snowstorm's fault. We might have lost 9 straight games if it wasn't for that storm.
When you guys stayed at the law school, did you just kick a bunch of law students out of their rooms and like, we got this now? You guys got to go? How'd you get those dorms?
It was in December, so it was Christmas.
Maybe they're away.
So they were away.
Right.
They were away. And there's a hotel back there, or there was a hotel back there. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it's like a hotel back there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we used to always stay in the Cavalier Inn during Christmas break.
We did too. We stayed there.
Low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of stories from there.
Apartment, so I can stay in my apartment. But yeah, first year, Christmas break, Cavalier Inn, and then we ate right at the diner that's not there anymore.
Oh, the Villa. The Italian, whatever it's called.
It just moved.
8 o'clock breakfast every day.
Oh man, the breakfast,
so good.
Pancakes for days, all of it.
Do you remember
Italian Villa?
Jerome, do you remember what people were saying about Bennett during that losing streak?
No, because I didn't pay attention. Like I didn't go online and see what people were saying, and again, I wasn't. It was his first year too, so again, in his first year, he pretty much had a pass because they were all Leitao players. He didn't really have a chance to recruit, implement his system. So hopefully it wasn't too bad, too critical, but I didn't hear anything.
T-Dubs, do you remember?
I think most of it was a pass because it was not, not his current players. I remember talking with other coaches, and they were just like, their big question was in the ACC is, can he recruit? Because they're like, his system is great. Can he recruit at that level? And that was really the only question, right? What's going to happen when he gets his guys in there? What's it going to look like? But I think it was definitely a pass, right? First year in.
Yeah. And then what was your departure like from UVA with the coaching staff?
So I ended up, I stayed there until August. So, I graduated, and then I stayed there to work out because, I was going to head for my first professional job and wanted to get as much work as possible. Coach Curtis was in there in the weight room with me every day, helping me out. Coach Sanchez, Coach McKay passing me the ball, helping me get shots up, working on my game. So they had helped me right all the way out the door, trying to give me as many opportunities as I could, help me to pick an agent, help me with my parents. So they helped me all the way out the door. And then I was welcomed back every time I came back to Charlottesville.
I got a question from your coaches. Like, you decided to become a professional basketball player, whatever level that would have been and whatever money that would have been. And you probably could have got a job on Wall Street in 7 seconds. Did any coach tell you not to pursue your professional basketball dream? Just go get your money on Wall Street or wherever it might be. Go to law school, whatever.
No,
I'm curious because
no coach told me that. I know Ed Burton. We were my professor. He was trying to push me to Wall Street as much as possible. My parents wanted me to go to grad school, but coaches, they were like, you can do all of that. You can do all of that later. You just give it a shot. Give it a shot. After 2 or 3 years, if you don't like it, then you can always come back and do all of that stuff. But your knees are only going to last for so long.
So, Jerome, why were all my college coaches telling me not to try to go play overseas but go to Wall Street? That's what I'm trying to get at.
I mean, it may have to do with talent.
Height, athleticism. So Ed Burton's my guy too. The reason I have my first job, I told you, is Ed Burton. Just basically told somebody, he's like, yo, you got to hire him. Like, he doesn't know one thing about what he's doing.
Right. Yeah.
So American Stock Exchange.
He was trying to get me up there. He sent me up. I had a couple interviews because of him.
What kind of stuff did you interview for?
I interviewed at he was always intent on putting me into investment banking.
Yeah,
right,
of course.
So I interviewed at Goldman, and I interviewed at.
Yeah, he was basically trying to kill you.
Yeah,
he was trying to kill you, investment banking.
But his mind is like, you do that for 2 years, you learn so much, and you can go off and do your own thing. And back then, I could have done that. I could have done 40-hour days, because that's what I heard it requires, 40-hour days, and
a little more.
Yeah. So I could have done that, and done the grind, everything like that, coming right out of UVA. But now, after playing professionally for 10 years, there's no chance.
Well, quick question again: If Leitao stays, Bennett doesn't, you play zero your 4th year. Do you go play pro basketball, or are you just on Wall Street? What do you think?
At that point, after not playing my 4th year, what's my hope of becoming a professional? Because I'm going to go to one of these money-grabbing camps, and we'll get your video out to coaches, and then again, the confidence issue too is like, I didn't play for 4 years. How am I have the confidence to go and play professionally?
Right.
So it was. If that change hadn't been happening, I'd be in New York right now, not having the experience of going to Brazil.
Exactly.
And then walk us through your first year out of school. Well, like adjusting to that life. What was that like?
I'll say this. Again, my background really helped me in the sense that, my parents were from different countries. I've gone and visited where they're from, and I had that, humility about me because of that. that was very important after I left UVA, which was JPJ, just built brand new, top facilities, top coaches, everything, to a small city in Argentina, 30,000 people. I'm talking about the weight room was so dirty, like you grab a weight, you look at your hand, and your hand is just full of rust. I had experiences with, like, we're on bus rides for an average of 12 hours. These like double-decker buses, not even beds. They like recline 45 degrees. You have to find a way to sleep like that. Just no gear. Instead of getting shoes every 2 seconds, I thought it was going to be like that. So I only bought one pair of shoes. And then after a month, I'm like, I had to get my parents to ship me shoes. Learn that you never ship anything overseas to South American countries because they will tax you. Yep. Never do that. It's just and then I went to a place that no one spoke English, and I did not utilize UVA enough to learn Spanish. So I was kind of got to start from square one. So it was. The funny story is the culture shock. So besides the language, dealing with everything, the culture shock was great. It was grand because they put me in a hotel at first and they told me you can eat at the restaurant beside the hotel. So, okay, I just got there, had lunch already. I took my nap. I wake up. It's about 6 o'clock and I'm hungry. So I go to the restaurant and it's closed. I'm like, this is where they told me to go eat. I don't have anybody's phone number. I can't contact anybody. There's nobody who speaks English. How am I supposed to eat? So then I start walking around the entire city. It's not that big, only 30,000 people. I walk around the entire city, and I come back an hour later, no food still, and I pass the restaurant again, and I see like a light in the back. So I knock on the door, and they're like, oh, we don't open until 8. Like, you open at 8 to start dinner.
I was going to guess midnight.
That's when they start to close.
Right.
They start to close. So I came back at 8, had a delicious steak dinner, but they don't eat dinner at 6. They have their little merienda, as they call it, like a little snack, like some cookies, a little biscuit. That's it. Some tea. That's it. But they eat their hard dinner at like 8 something. And like they play basketball games at 9, 10 at night. So I can't tell you the amount of times that I've had steak at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Full steak, 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's the culture. That's what you have to do.
Interesting. So during you're going through all that, or at any point we're like, I should have went to Wall Street.
Absolutely not. I was having fun.
Okay.
I was having fun. I had a blog and everything. I was blogging my adventures. And I just had fun. Right. And then my coach found my blog at some point, and he comes and he's like, why haven't you put me in your blog yet? He said it in his best English that he could. Like, why haven't I? And that coach, again, you go top facilities at UVA, top coaches at UVA, and now you're coming down here. So there was a reason I didn't put him in the blog, because I didn't have the greatest basketball mind.
That's awesome.
Once he came with me with that, I threw him in there. But like, again, the whole city embraced me because, a tiny city, 30,000 people, and now you have an American coming in and blogging about his adventures there. They all kind of embraced me, like to the point where at games and stuff, when I was playing well, they started chanting my name. Like, what universe does that happen? Like, that was just, some of the experiences that you could never have unless you're in a situation like that. So at no point I thought that, man, I need to stop this and go to Wall Street, especially because, I was playing what I love to do. I'd always loved basketball. I was good at other things, but basketball was always the motivator.
Right.
Was there any point where you thought coming back home to get in the NBA? Because I remember you did the reporter thing for the NBA, and then. But did that ever cross your mind? Like, hey, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go try. I don't know, summer league, training camp, anything.
I tried, and I switched different agents. I tried different agents that said they could help me get in. Again, I didn't have the numbers to do it right out of UVA, and then the older that I got, the harder, that was to accomplish. So it never really come across the radar. Like, it was never a serious, like, I never got put on a team. I never got that close. But again, I was having so much fun and like living such a different lifestyle than I otherwise would. I was enjoying it. I was having a blast. Still having a blast.
That's right. I was just gonna say. So, what is your next stop? Are you a free agent right now? Or are you in a contract?
I'm a free agent right now. Well, I'm trying to, with COVID and everything going on, I'm trying to get that situation squared away, seeing which countries are going to play, how they're to deal with everything. I should know within the next week or so where I'll play, but hopefully everything continues, because no one knows what's going to happen. I know it's a very difficult situation for everyone. My heart goes out to all the people who lost family members and things like that. And here we're talking about basketball during this time. It's tough. But that's not up to me. All I can do now is stay in shape, be ready for when the call arrives, and then try and do my best.
Where was your last season? Mexico? Am I right?
Yeah, so I finished the season in Mexico in February, and then a month later I went back to Argentina to finish out their season, and that's when everything got shut down. So I stayed there for 2 months because Argentina shut down so early. We're like, okay, they're gonna get it back going. They're gonna start it back up again. But then after 2 months, it was clear that nothing was gonna happen. So came home, brought my girlfriend who's in Brazil, brought her here before the borders were closed.
Oh wow! Yeah. Does she only have 90 days though? How does that work? Or you had to do a fiance?
She got 6 months, which is
that's right. 6 months tourist.
Yeah, so she got 6 months.
Right.
We at first thought it was 90 days, but she got 6 months.
Yeah, I didn't know if you're gonna be on that 90-day fiance show they have on TV. Can I do? Go ahead, Mark. Go. Then I'm gonna.
What is your favorite South American country and why?
Oh, it's not even close.
I know, but I always, ease into this answer to not offend the other countries that I played in, because again, they treated me very well. But if I had to choose, there's no place quite like Rio in Brazil. There's no place
except for Salvador. Except for Salvador.
What'd you say?
I knew the answer.
Just made Dougie Smith's day.
Oh yeah, he knew the answer. We had a conversation before. We were sharing stories.
I knew the answer.
He knows how much I love Brazil.
So how many cities and teams have you played for over your career now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So over 10 years, I played for 9 teams in 9 cities.
Wow.
That's
incredible.
Cool,
that's so cool.
That's so cool, right? They call it the variety is a spice of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've been all over the place. My longest tenure was in Rio. I played there for 3 years straight. Hardest decision ever to leave.
Why'd you leave? I want to know that reason. So guys, you probably don't know, Flamengo in Rio is like I think it's the second biggest supporting team for soccer, right? Supporters.
Second.
I think Corinthians.
No.
Corinthians.
First, 40 million. Okay. First, Flamengo.
Okay.
Don't make me get my Flamengo jersey. We're not gonna go there.
Yo, I had a Flamengo jersey. You know what happened? I was 10 years ago. I was in a bar. Some dude liked it. I gave him my jersey, like a sucker. So Flamengo is like people, like it's not like you like Virginia, you like the Lakers. People like live their lives for this shit. And so we play.
I'm trying to explain it the best way I can what live your life actually means, because you really can't understand it until you learn their language and then learn their culture. So that's what I did. I learned their language, and then like I'd seen them at the soccer games jumping up and down and chanting and screaming and doing all of that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to jump all the way in. I learned the songs. I literally march because they meet before the games. They march all the way to the stadium. They sing and march throughout the whole game, and they go back. That is more tiring than a basketball game, first of all. When I did that, I was dead. So then I became friends with some of these people as well. And like, their life revolves around their soccer team. Like, no joke.
It revolves around. That's it.
You have dinner with that person, that's the only thing they can talk about because their life literally revolves around. Their happy days are when the team wins. Their sad days are when the team loses. And like if they don't like what's going on with the management, they will go out in the streets and protest. They will fight over it. They will give their life for their soccer team. And that's not an exaggeration.
That's wild.
That is how passionate they are. And you really can't understand or appreciate that until you dive in and really see it for what it's worth. So it's
like all the fans' lives, big events, marriages, deaths, etc., are marked by the day of their team's game. I'll never forget that. I met a guy one time, old timer. He lost his son, and somebody's telling me the story. Poor guy, and he was like, "Yeah, it was the day of Bahia versus Victoria." But I'm like, "Dude, your son died. That's not. How do you care about that game?" It's like Knicks versus Cavs.
In their club paraphernalia. They'll get married. Like, instead of wearing the tux, they'll wear a flamingo jersey.
Wow. That's awesome.
And then, their baby's born. The first thing they put on their baby, boom, flamingo jersey. It's
Yo, Jerome, one time I was in São Paulo. I was back in New York, but I was in São Paulo. And I had I don't know, Corinthians jersey on. And it was the day Palmeiras was playing against whoever. And my cab driver's all nervous, and I speak fluent Portuguese like you. Yo, I'm good, chill, whatever. He's like, dude, I can't leave your side. What are you talking about? He's like, the other team is playing. If somebody sees you, they're gonna kill you. I'm like, not me. Like, he didn't want to. The guy did not want to drive me because I had the wrong jersey for the day.
Yeah, that's understandable, especially Palmeiras. Palmeiras, they're crazy. They're crazier than normal.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
How long did it take you to learn Portuguese, Jerome?
I arrived in Brazil in July. No, at the beginning of August. And by January, I was doing interviews in Portuguese. So I learned it very quickly. I was very motivated. The Spanish helped me, but not necessarily like some of the vocabulary is similar, some of the words, some of the grammar rules are similar. But what helped me was, at that point, I knew how to learn the language. I knew the steps to take to learn the language. So once I applied those steps to Portuguese, I learned it very quickly. Right. So yeah, by January, I was doing interviews and everything. I was speaking 100% Portuguese. The only time I was speaking English was, with a couple friends of mine or when I called my mom. That was it. Everything else is Portuguese.
That's amazing.
Dougie, how long did it take you?
Like 4 days. I'm like bizarrely intelligent, Mark. You know that. No, but I'll tell you, I think Jerome will appreciate this. He said the same thing. So my whole life I took Spanish. I never spoke Spanish, but I could like read and write and do my, my college Spanish test and get 100. I never spoke it. And there's another story about that. Long story short, I had a girlfriend back in the day, Brazilian, and we spoke Portuguese. So I think I had it all back here. And so I learned Portuguese speaking as opposed to, school-wise. And then when I moved there, it's the same as you do. So I played basketball in Bahia out of nowhere, 32, 33 years old. And I had my first game, Margie, I went off for the record. And the local sports station is like, yo, we want you on the station. It's Sunday night, blah, blah, blah. And I go in, it's like all Portuguese. Like, how long have you been speaking Portuguese? I'm like, no, I've been here 6 months. They're like, no way. But it's the same thing. But I'm extremely impressed with Jerome because I'm telling you, Nobody does what he did in terms of learning that language. Nobody. I had this much of a background. He had this much. And
Figured it all out. And how big is basketball in that area that you're in? Versus the soccer team, like the support wise.
Okay, so soccer team is here, almost off the screen. Basketball, I'd say, is about right here.
So for us dumb Americans, is it like relative? If soccer is like football here, what sport is basketball over there? Is it like?
No, it's not
hockey.
Even like,
hockey.
It's tennis.
Tennis.
Well, you had your hand. Tennis. You showing your hand. I would say more like ping pong.
Yeah.
It's
badminton.
There's 200 million people in the country, and again, like 40 million Flamingo fans. So like, if you take a percentage of that and then you put it in a basketball arena, you can still get a lot of people. It still feels like a lot of people.
Right.
But just a comparison, like
they don't live and breathe the basketball. It's mostly the
no, but the point is the people that decide to support the basketball team are savages.
Right.
Like
obviously.
they live and breathe it.
Right. Those are the ones that are really bought
7,000 that they go nuts. I watch videos of you, Jerome, coming after games and people waiting for you. Mango.
yeah. It was
like they're so passionate. It's like you make a free throw in Brazil and the place goes crazy. Like it's the most important shot.
They just know that ball.
They don't know any better.
Good.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like a shot clock violation.
Like?
Right.
What are the facilities like?
Terrible.
It depends. I've played in nice facilities.
I mean, nice.
Also played in places that literally we had to keep towels on the floor. So we're running around towels on the floor as the roof drips with rain. But we're gonna play the game. So we have to just play with the towels on the floor, and the towels just help us know where the wet spots are. So you gotta run around it. But we're still playing. And every time somebody shoots a free throw, somebody comes, wipes the floor, and it gets off. But you're still playing. And I played in gyms. South America, the basketball season is during the summer as opposed to here, where it's in the winter. We're in the summer, and I played in gyms with no fans. If you have air conditioning, you're all right. That's luxury. That's like 1% of the gyms that I played in had air conditioning. Not even proper ventilation. So I had to learn how to play basketball with a wet hand. Like literally put my hand under a faucet, wet. Here's your basketball. Play with that.
Wow.
That's how the conditions I had to play with. And I've also played in the other extreme where we're playing and the gym is freezing cold. So like imagine trying to shoot free throws and you can't feel your fingers.
Wow.
I've done that too. I've played in all kinds of conditions. So
here's something I learned about you, what seems to be across the board fairly true or very true. When you decide to do something, you go all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in. If I got to play with these conditions, I'm here. I want to play. Let's go. Let's just go.
That's awesome.
Right.
Do we have time to do the photo series, Mark?
Yeah. One quick question before we go into the photo series that I'm really curious about was, what did your agent tell you about Brazil basketball when you signed with him?
So I'd already been in Argentina for 3 years, and the team wanted me back after my third year, and I told them no. So then my agent's like, okay, well, this is place in Rio. Go look it up on Wikipedia. So I looked it up, and I called him back. I was like, yes. I knew nothing about the basketball. I had read about the city, about Brazil. I was like, yes. And I knew the team was good because we had played against them in Argentina in one of the international tournaments. So like I knew like it was good. But once I saw the city, once I saw what was available in the city, I was sold immediately. I was like, all right, we're going. There's no discussion. Let's get the contract signed. That's where I'm going.
That's awesome.
Yo, what's your favorite spot in Rio? Or favorite three? I'll give you three.
Favorite spot? Now that depends on what am I doing? Am I eating? Am I partying?
Yeah, not basketball. Like eating, partying, whatever.
Ipanema. I like the beach there in Ipanema because it's not too quiet. LeBron is a little too quiet. Copacabana is a little too busy. Ipanema is like right in the middle.
Yeah.
Favorite place to party? Well, my favorite music is pagode. So like, going to a pagode on a Sunday.
Yeah.
This is the best thing. So like, it's just, you just dancing and drinking the live music all day, from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock in the morning. You just drinking, eating, and listening to live music. Everybody's dancing. That's one thing that I'll say about Brazil. People go out. People are going out to have a good time. They're going out to sing every word of every song because I don't understand how they know every word of every song. They sing, they dance, and they drink. That is it. I have rarely seen like people like fight or get into it because the atmosphere is just so airy and free and happy when people go out that it was. I love that part about going out in Brazil. It's fantastic.
Can I tell you why everybody knows the words to every song? Because everybody sings the same songs.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like, when you learn the language and see that everything just repeats and there's not that many words, it's pretty simple. But when you first go there, you're just amazed. Like, everyone knows every word to every song. Like, how?
We have two segments. We have 2 segments left. TW does a photo image react segment, and then Dougie Fresh has a question for you that we ask every guest. So T-Dubs is going to take you through that photo series.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. And generally, I'll show you a photo. Sometimes they're a video like this one. Just get your reaction. This first one, the JPJ introduction. Michael, I'm always curious. This is like your first college experience in a game, and it's got this kind of hoopla around it. What was going through your mind?
Oh, that adrenaline running through me for that Arizona game. Again, like, I had the expectation to play, so it was nuts. And then even before, we didn't have, what do you call that? We didn't have Midnight Madness.
Right.
But instead we got Earth, Wind, and Fire, which is 10 times better.
Right.
I played the trumpet in high school, so I played all of their songs. I already knew all of their songs at this point. So when they said Earth, Wind, and Fire was coming, I was ecstatic. Yeah. I went there, and I was singing every word to every song, just like the Brazilians I was talking about. And a lady looks over at me, she's like, how old are you? I was like, 17. How do you know all the words to Earth, Wind, and Fire? Man, it was so much going into that first season. I remember it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, this was still to this day one of the bigger deals ever in Charlottesville, like the opening of JPJ. Yeah. My favorite joke when my friends said they had tickets to the Earth, Wind, and Fire JPJ, I'm like, there's no way we're going to beat Earth, Wind, and Fire. Virginia's like, we're in a down year. But anyway, the next one was this is the Virginia schedule for your first year. And as we're going through this thing, there's the Arizona game. We lose the first loss is at Purdue. I'm just thinking in terms of this is your first season. You got some minutes in here, but what were your thoughts going through this? The first year, the ringer, was there anything that jumped out to you? Because I know you talked about it was a little bit disappointing you didn't get the minutes, but were there times where games or things that you remember?
Yes, Puerto Rico. Now you remind me of it. So in this time frame right there, the 8th, 9th, and 10th game were played in Puerto Rico, and it was at that time that I turned 18.
Okay.
So a couple of stories from there. That was in Puerto Rico, the gambling age was 18. So I turned 18 in time to be able to gamble. And unfortunately for me, I gambled all my per diem away. All of it. But luckily, my parents actually came down for that, and they surprised me for my birthday. I had no idea they were going to do it. So, I was still able to eat even though I gambled away all my per diem. But those games were terrible. We lost to Appalachian State, and we lost to Utah. And we almost lost to that Puerto Rican team. Yeah. I want to say we were down at halftime.
Yeah.
And things were not looking good. So I played in the Puerto Rican game, and I played well. So like I think I played a little bit the first 2 games, but like I was feeling more confident after that tournament. So I was feeling like I was coming up, playing well, and I was like, okay, now after the 10th game, I've gotten the hang of this. Now it's kind of my chance to kind of get a shot. And then we play American, and I didn't play at all. So I just went straight back down. Poof. So that was one.
I was gonna say, do you remember what happened? Why we didn't play well over there in Puerto Rico? Was it because I remember that was we talked to J.R. Reynolds. He was on here a few days ago, and he was like, I don't know what happened I don't know what happened.
Yeah, they were all gambling. He just told
I guess
you.
so. Everybody lost their per diem.
It was just terrible. I can't put my finger on it either. Yeah, we lost by 24.
Yeah, we on a team that was actually really good. Like,
yeah, it was awful.
No, Appalachian State. Come on, man.
Yeah, by 11, and we came back at the end of that game. I think we were down even more. And then against the Puerto Rican team, where the tallest guy was maybe 6'4", we were down at halftime. I want to say.
Yeah.
So Puerto Rico.
I think he's the same guy that played for UMBC that beat us.
I think the thought at the time was that good beach weather, because we were at that point we were like 0-16 in Florida.
Right.
Anytime we were in good weather, Virginia just laid an egg, and the joke was all something about that beach weather. We can't adjust.
Gonzaga was the best game that we played while I was there under the Coach Leitao era. We shut them completely down.
And you put up 108.
And it was just perfection. I remember that game. I don't think I even played, but it was perfection. We just did everything perfect that game.
Yeah, Sean and JR went off, right?
Yeah.
And then we go through a little stint of losing with Stanford, Carolina, number 1 team in the nation, though. And then you go down this schedule. This is obviously your first kind of college season, but then you go.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah, down 19, and we come back.
Coach Leitao had given up on us. He was already on the bench, just sitting there, and we some kind of way won that game when Sean Singletary got the rebound
through the pass. Yeah,
he jumped up to the ceiling and got the rebound. That's the only explanation that I could give. And it was funny because after the game, they had a chance to win it at the end. They had the ball at the end. And Jason Kane is on a full sprint trying to chase the guy down that goes up for the shot. And he said he thought we were down. He had a J.R. Smith moment. He was trying to foul them.
Oh, no.
Imagine if he would have fouled them in that moment and we were up 1. Coach Leitao probably would have cut his head off.
That's awesome.
Did that later. And then obviously the Duke game after that, and then we were on a roll.
Yeah, we made a shirt. It's called the Singletary the Look, and it's got him right out there when he's pointing at the cameraman. But yeah, that. And then what about your first ACC tournament? Do you remember that?
Lost. Miami was like last in the ACC. We just had to win one more regular season game to have it outright. But then it said we lost to the Miami, Wake, and I think NC State were the 3 bottom teams at ACC that year. And that's
right.
What we lost.
That's right.
It was frustrating, I think was the word. When we got to the ACC tournament, it just lost the first game against Norfolk. Just frustrating to have the talent that we had, the season that we had so far, and then lose the first game in the ACC tournament was frustrating.
Well, North Carolina State for whatever reason, they always played really well in the tournament. Like they'd turn it up. I don't know what it was. And they had a streak of beating us in the tournament. Yeah. And then JR talked about this was what he dreamed about his 4 years playing in the NCAA. And this is you just walking into this thing. what were your thoughts? NCAA tournament, the hoopla. You've seen it before, but being a part of it, what was it like?
It was a lot of hoopla. Like it was like it. I was in awe. I think I was in awe twice. I was in awe the first time we played at North Carolina. Just seeing the names and the jerseys and the Raptors, I was just in awe. I just couldn't kind of. I was just starstruck. And then also going to the tournament too. It just seems like the lights were literally brighter than any other moment that I played. Like everybody, and I got to play that game because we beat Albany so much. So like that was my only NCAA tournament kind of experience, but it was well worth it. It was everything that you dream about, like watching it on TV. It's just the kind of energy and excitement surrounding it.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And then that Tennessee game, JR goes down with the ankle injury. He talked about it at halftime. He didn't want to let anybody know how bad he was hurting. But did you guys know?
We kind of saw it, but we knew he was going to fight through it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no doubt. And it was funny. Because he was a fighter. He was our leader. And it was funny. He almost couldn't play against Arizona because he got poked in the eye.
That's right.
By Andy Burns. And imagine being the walk-on that pokes JR in the eye and almost gets him out of the first game against the number 10 team in the country in the opening of the JBJ Arena. Like,
he didn't start. He said he's still to this day so upset that he didn't get his name called by Michael Buffer.
Yeah, but we didn't think he was going to play. He couldn't see.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, man. So, timely injuries for JR.
So then the Tennessee game, Sean misses that three.
At the end.
And at the end.
It looked good. Oh, it looked good.
It looked good. It looked like we had it. But then what was the process like for you after the end of the season? Like, was there – obviously there wasn't an exit interview with Leitao, but did you guys – like, JR's gone now. Like, Sean was debating going pro. Do you remember anything?
For me, it was time to go to work because now is my shot. Okay.
Right.
I was 17. I just turned 18. I needed a little time to figure this out, but now it's time. It's go time.
Right.
So I went. I put on 15 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
Between my first and second year, I was 235 and did not gain any body fat. So I put on the muscle. I was ready to go. My spring workouts were fantastic, but I just for reasons we talked about earlier, just didn't
come together. And then I was just say, then we come back to the next season. I mean, at Arizona, we get a win. Things are looking really good, actually. Beginning of the year, you weren't playing. Were you into this season at all, or were you like, come on, man, let me just get in the game? Or how was it?
I remember that Syracuse game. I had a great game that Syracuse game.
Oh, this one. Yeah,
I came off the bench, and again, it was supposed to be another coming out party for me. Actually, I think that sequence right there, the Syracuse, Longwood, Hampton, I've been playing well, and it was coming out of doing things well, and then Xavier, it all fell apart. We got kicked out of the locker room after Xavier. Oh, that was bad.
70-108, we lost.
Oh, yeah, that was bad. We got kicked out of the locker room. We lost our jerseys and everything. We were practicing in gray shirts and blue shorts, starting from scratch. Then we lost to Duke.
Then we go to Duke.
That was a tough stretch.
And then, I think the one guy hits the game winner on us Tech national TV, right?
Yeah, and then that Florida State, that ref called an intentional on me before I even touched the guy. Because Sean, we had the lead, and Sean turns the ball over. And, again, that was another time that I had a chance to play. I was playing well. I had a big dunk there. I was feeling good. I chased the guy down, and I hadn't even fouled him yet because he thought I was going to foul him, and he balled up. So I had beaten him down and had my hand on his hip because I was kind of preparing to foul him, but I wanted to get in front of him. So I had my hand on his hip, hadn't fouled him yet, and the referee on the other side calls an unsportsmanlike. Oh, I'm still angry about that.
Oh wow.
It's funny the little things that you remember as you go through the schedule.
Yeah, totally. And then yeah, we go through this crazy lose. We lose a lot of close games down the stretch here. But I was gonna ask, like, what was the mood like as a team? You know, this is Sean's last year. Like, he had a lot of, obviously, you know, thoughts of going out another NCAA tournament. Did you guys start feeling that slip away at this point, or?
Oh, I mean, at that point, it was everybody else's fault except Sean's.
Yeah.
At that point, you want to talk about division on a team. It was everybody else's fault except Sean's. And again, Coach Leitao played into that. Well, he created that. And then again, Sean was playing 30, 35 minutes a game, so he wouldn't practice. So he's not practicing. We're practicing for 2 hours and stuff, and then we get in a game, and all that we practiced was for 5 minutes a game that he's on the bench. So it was a lot of disconnect, dysfunction. It was just all bad.
That's crazy. And then the one game I wanted to ask you about was this ODU game in the CBI, first ever CBI that we participated in. What was the mood like for that? Were you like, is this a joke? Are we really playing in this, or were you guys up for it?
It was so again, if you go back up, you see all the losses, you see how bad the season was. Right. We wanted it to end. And then here comes these guys like, no. The knife's not in deep enough. Let me stick it in some more and then twist it. Bradley was the twist. Playing in CBI was them sticking the knife in our back just a little bit more, and then Bradley, that was the twist. Oh, we lost to Bradley, and again, 2 days later,
he had to run.
6 a.m. practice. I'll give another gross story. Just throwing stories out there. You can pick the ones you want to keep. So we're having these 6 a.m. practices, and I know we're practicing at 6 a.m. It's like 7 p.m. or something. I'm hungry. I was like, I'm going to just eat something light because I know tomorrow's going to be a rough day. I go to McDonald's and get a chicken sandwich. I was like, that's, light. Not going to get any red meat, something light. The next day, I threw up 3 times. All of that chicken sandwich was all over my shirt. And that literally was the last time I ate McDonald's.
That's a good reason.
Just threw it. And then, so again, it was also war mode at that time. So like Coach Leito's yelling and everybody, it's in survival mode. So like at one point, I'd already ruined 2 of my shirts. I had throw up on the 3rd one, and I had to keep going. So we're doing one-on-one full court dribbling, and Tunji has to guard me with throw up on his shirt. Poor Tunji. He didn't want to touch me, but he had to stop me because then he get yelled at or possibly have to run. And just I got throw up on my shirt, and I'm going. Let's go. That was the atmosphere post Bradley. Yeah. So wow. That's what we thought was going to happen the following year when he got called in the film room.
Right. The one game I remember is the ODU. These guys aren't going to remember it because why would you watch that game? But I remember we were down 1, 10 seconds left. ODU had the ball, it was tied. It was tied, and ODU had the ball. They were bringing up, and Sean steals the ball and drives down and hits the game winner off a steal. Do you remember that?
The reaction from us on the bench was, it was like, yay, we won the game, but oh shoot, we gotta keep playing.
No spring break.
It was bittersweet. It's like, oh, we won. Oh, we got practice tomorrow. We just wanted it to be over. And he does that and wins the game. We're just like, I remember that now.
I remember watching that game and thinking, what? And I don't think I've ever seen someone have basically a pick 6 to end the game in basketball. Like, like they are trying to win the game, 10 seconds left, and he steals the ball and goes down and hits the game. Where I was like, what in the world? Anyway.
Yeah, that was so bittersweet. Goodness.
That's so funny that you say that. And then here's Leito's last season as we go through this one. And we talked about, the crazy stretch of losses here. But anything at Auburn, played Xavier again.
This is badly.
This is bad. There's a lot of losses in here.
Yeah.
Clemson, we beat Clemson in overtime. We beat
y'all beat Brown. You beat Brown.
Beat Tech, and then we end the season. I remember beating Maryland was nice. Beating Maryland's always nice.
It was always nice.
So then that takes through a pretty uneventful season. What about for you personally? Do you remember any big games you had in here?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about South Florida.
Yeah.
And then pretty much, it was
South Florida right at the beginning of the season.
Right at the beginning. And then it was pretty much done for me after that. Liberty, I remember that when Seth Curry gave us 30. Easiest 30 I ever saw. He just lit us up. Yeah, that game right there got him his scholarship to do. Right there. Yeah. That's the game.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, he lit us up.
He transferred?
Yeah,
he transferred to Duke.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Auburn was tough. At that point, I still had hope, and then after that,
all right. So,
yeah, and then Clemson was the one where it was just my career was just done. That's when he played. he played Brandenburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played him over me. I was like, I'm done.
John Brandenburg. Who went on to have some crazy stories I've read.
Yeah. We're not gonna get that.
Yeah.
This podcast, but
we won't go down that path. But
yeah.
And then Coach Bennett's first season, you talked about that crazy run towards with the snow, and then we had a bunch of losses in here. But I was going to ask, how is the pack line for you? Because it's always harder. I feel like it's harder for the bigs with the hedging and the recovering. How was that for you to pick up?
That wasn't the hard part for me. The hard part for me was staying flat when I had to, shape. So like a guy is coming down the lane, and I have to stay flat because like in Leito's defense and what I've been taught before is like I would go to the ball, and then somebody would have to come and cover me. But in the pack, I have to stay flat because if I leave my man, there's no one to cover me. So that was the adjustment, and then in the post, trying to get baseline side. So like when the ball goes to the wing, I'm on the top side, but when it goes to the corner, I have to get baseline side. That was tough. It was tough to get around there sometimes. But other than that, the hedging wasn't a problem. I was athletic enough to do it. The X and out between the bigs, I didn't have a problem with that. I was playing with Mike Scott at the time.
Yeah, that's the next photo.
Yeah, that's the crew right there.
Landisberg, Farrakhan, Mike Scott, and you.
Yeah.
That was the squad.
Jeff Jones in front of me. Yeah, that was the squad.
And I was going to say, what about those guys and their careers? What was the transition like for those guys going for Coach Bennett?
Well, Mustafa still has the best dunk I've ever seen live.
Yes, NC State. Yeah,
it's still the best dunk I've ever seen live.
That was amazing.
Sylvan, whether Leitao stayed or he was not staying at UVA before you.
Yeah,
he already knew that. He wasn't worried about it. He was just that was his thing. Coach Bennett, out of everyone, I think helped Mike Scott the most.
Yeah. Hard to argue that.
Yeah, Mike Scott benefited the most. He turned – not that Mike Scott wasn't talented, but just I think even more on a mental aspect. The coaching staff really got to him mentally, like, we need you to come and we need you to be a leader. We're going to teach you how to be a leader, and we want you to become that leader.
Right.
And that's what he did, especially his last year. And then, Mustafa finished out his career. He had a pretty good run as well. Jeff Jones shouldn't have left. I think that was an unfortunate decision on his part, but everybody has to choose their own path.
Yeah. And then, this.
And that travel that they called on Mustafa. We're playing Maryland senior night again. I'm feeling great. I think I just had that dunk. When I spun baseline and had the dunk, next play, I'm about to get the ball again. He's trying to throw it in, and they call travel because he inched his feet like this, like something so subtle. It just never gets called ever. Like, had no effect on the play, nothing. But those referees were out for it. That's the only explanation.
Yeah.
He moved his feet like this as he tried to make the entry pass, and they called travel.
Wild. I was gonna say this is the one I was talking about.
Pick six.
Pick six.
4 seconds left, game winner. I don't know. I just thought that was crazy. And then
we looked at each other. We're like, ah.
Yeah, we got no spring break.
And then this is you with KD. What was that like for you, interviewing all those guys and being that? What was that? What officially was that? You were like
I was the host for the NBA House.
Okay.
The NBA House in Rio during the 2016 Olympics.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
So, again, they wanted me to, get footage with the players, just create a lot of content, to have content moving, to keep people wanting to come to the house, to show what's going on in the house. That was my job. So they flew me out to Vegas. I got to watch these guys practice, which was amazing, by the way. And then after practice, I got to interview them and talk to them a little bit, which it was interesting in itself in the sense that, I had been in their shoes, being interviewed and stuff like that. So I didn't want to come off as a reporter. So, first thing that when I approached them, I was like, I'm doing this for the NBA. I'm not a reporter. You can relax. You don't have to give me the generic political answer. I'm not here to try to trip you up, because a lot of those reporters are trying to trip people up. I remember one guy asked Carmelo literally for 20 minutes, and I sat there and I waited for Carmelo out there. He asked Carmelo for 20 minutes about Kobe during the Olympics, the previous Olympics. 20 minutes of questions about Kobe, the previous Olympics. How awful is that? And then there was another report I remember talking to Draymond Green, because this was after the finals that they lost when he got suspended in Game 5. Just the worst questions imaginable. When I sat down, I was like, you're stronger than me. You held your own. You held your composure during all that. Props to you. And then I started talking to him. This is for the NBA. I'm gonna ask you some fun questions about Brazil. That's it. Maybe get to try to translate a few words, but nothing to that point. But yeah, KD
that was cool.
Yeah, it was.
I was gonna say, any stories out of that were fun for you that you can remember?
Yeah, so I was talking to Paul George, and I was like, "Are you looking forward to Rio?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What part are you looking most to?" And they didn't add this to the video. I knew they were, but it's like, I'm looking forward to the girls doing the booty dance.
That's great.
He heard about the booty dance. There is a booty dance. He knows what somebody told him correctly. So he had talked about the booty dance, and but they didn't add that in there. So that was fun. KD is super tall. He's taller than he's listed. They list him at 6'9". There's no way.
He's 7 feet, right? He's a 7-footer.
Yeah, he's long.
And his workouts are amazing. They finished practicing, did everything, and then he started working out at 1,000 miles an hour. So
really,
you just watching those guys practice and work out, you see the difference. Yeah. You see why they're elite basketball players. What else? I couldn't talk to Kyrie because he was just swarmed every second. I just no time to talk to him. Anybody else with a funny story? Oh, another funny story. So I went to interview Boogie Cousins, and the guys I'm working with, they're they literally treated him like he was a tiger, in the sense that you gotta be careful. We don't know what kind of mood he's in. Approach him slowly. Like, what is that? I'm looking at him like, stop it. So I just go over and I'm talking to him. He gave one of the best interviews. He was just, friendly and everything like that. Because it's how you approach people. It's how you treat people. Not, you got to be worried about what mood he is. I went and smiled like, hey, I'm doing this for the NBA. Not doing any questions, not trying to trip you up, not trying to get on your nerves. Let's just have some fun, speak a little Portuguese, and go from there. We had a great interview.
That's awesome. And then a little bit back to the UVA pod. We got the most underrated. We tried to do this with sort of that era of Gillen and Leitao, and we put you on here. We got Jason Kane, Devin Smith, Elton Brown, Majestic Map, Jason Clark, Hassan, Keith Friel, Travis Watson, Todd Billett. Any of those names ring a bell in terms of exclude you from the list for this purpose?
I heard about Elton Brown's talent. I heard that, maybe his work ethic wasn't the highest, but I definitely heard about his talent. I played against Devin Smith one time in the Intercontinental Cup because he was playing in Israel and my team in Brazil, we ended up beating them. Jason Kane, I played with him. He was great. One of the best rebounders I played with. And Travis Watson also came back a lot during the summer. Actually, I learned a bunch with him. He's a great post player. He's got that big man shoulder. Some guys have it, some guys don't. There's not something you can teach. It's just he's got that shoulder. When he hits you with that shoulder, you go backwards. And he knows how to play out of that.
That's awesome. And then this next one is Coach Bennett screaming. Where were you?
I felt like I had won the national championship. First of all, that three game stretch. So against Purdue, I had a game. So we're winning most of the game. I'm like checking it. I'm checking it as soon as he finished the game, and then I see like they're getting closer and closer and closer. So I get in an Uber to go home, and I bring it up on my phone. So then we start losing. I was like, this can't happen again. Like I was about to cry. I was like, not again. Like we had to have made the Final Four. Like we needed to make the Final Four. So I'm in this Uber about to cry. Momedy hits that shot, and I scream. And I scream so loud and suddenly that the Uber swerves. If there were anyone else on the street at that time, we'd have gotten in an accident. Swerved. I was like, ah! He just blew.
That's
so
great.
by the time I get home, it's overtime. I sprint up the flights of stairs, get to my room, and then watch it. And then honestly, this is no joke. My heart was beating faster, and I sweat more watching that Purdue game than I did in my own game.
Right.
That's not an exaggeration. So then the next one is Auburn.
All right. Uh-huh.
And I think that one I got to watch at home, and
Kyle steps up to the free throw line down 2. What are you thinking?
I got underneath the couch. Like I couldn't sit on the couch. I couldn't lay on the floor. I got underneath the couch to watch that because my nerves were just that bad at that point. It was because then you start getting superstitious. Like I started texting a friend, and then we started playing badly. So then I yell at that friend, "Don't talk to me anymore." Like, my girlfriend had to stay in the kitchen. Like this, everything superstitious to make sure I was doing my part to help them win. So they won that game, and then that was great. And then I was actually able to watch the finals with a couple of UVA fans. I was pacing back and forth. I was pacing in the street during timeouts. I was on the floor for 70% of the game. And then when they finally won, it was just relief. I could like breathe and stop sweating and stop having, close to having panic attacks. But the worst thing was the Final Four, I had a game between. So I had a game before and I had a game in between. If I didn't have those 2 games, I would have flown to Minnesota. If I only had to miss one game, I would have flown. I was
just going to ask you, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking of making that trip? And it's a long ways.
I would have made the trip. If it were only one game to miss, I could have asked for one game. But 2 games, it was too much.
It's a lot.
Two games is a lot. Again, like they're paying me, like it's not like I can just.
All right, we did this out of order for you, just because. Why not? But then the reverse of that.
I couldn't watch that game. I couldn't watch that game because I had a game that day, and like I just knew they were gonna win. So like, why even stress myself out to watch that game?
Right.
So then my teammates are like, Virginia's losing. I'm like, no way. So I couldn't even get it up on my phone, and they lost, and I was just like, it's just the backlash from everybody, especially my team there, because I wear UVA gear at least twice a week.
Okay.
That's just since I've left UVA gear twice a week. Still,
every day
wherever I go, I got my UVA gear. So they let me have it. Like they let me have it on the internet. People were going nuts. Everything. It was just bad. So then the following year, I gave it back.
You have to.
I made sure they knew who won the national championship, and I tell them even now that we're 2-year national champions.
Yeah,
we have not been unproud.
Might be 3 years that way things are looking.
Yeah, it's not looking good. So might be first 3-year champion right there. Boom, UVA.
And you didn't get to watch this one, so that's good.
Yeah, I didn't have to suffer that heartbreak. Wait, that's not true. I did see the end of it.
Oh, you did see the end, yeah.
It was Isaiah's, and I was friends with Isaiah, and that was just tough. That was tough.
And then here's this next one. This is the team kneeling. This is now 5 years ago, but this is after Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for injustice. The Virginia team also did this. Were you aware of this?
No, I never saw this photo.
Yeah, so this is Ty's first year. All the guys kneeled, sort of snuck out after practice and did it and posted it on the official Virginia account, which I thought was really cool. But just wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of like all that's going on in this world, this picture. We've been doing this picture almost every podcast, but like it's even more relevant now than when we started doing these.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad they were not I mean, they took the initiative to do that, and it shows, kind of the character that these guys have to try and take a stance and stand on the right side, this early when it wasn't the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think now, it's the popular thing to do in the sense that it's more socially acceptable. But like for them to do this back then, I think this is great. It speaks to the character of every one of them. But I'm happy with the change that has happened so far. I think there's a lot more that needs to be changed, and I think that some of the things they're trying to paint as change is not really change. It's not the systemic change that we need.
Right.
The problem is with the systemic racism. The problem is with the systemic inequality that derives from that. So like until you change those things, and for me, it has to start with education. Like how public schools are funded is the most fundamental problem that we have. Mm-hmm. And then from there, the other problems stem from there. But until like that gets changed, like I don't care that the NFL is playing the Negro national anthem. Like that's not hiring more black GMs and black presidents and black coaches. Right. That's not solving the problem. That's just like here, just like it's false thing. So like there has been positive action that has happened, but there's still a lot of work to do, and I hope people don't see like things like the NFL playing the national anthem as something that is what we're asking for. It's not.
Right. And then here's this next one. These are the guys marching, the neo-Nazi, whatever I don't even know what you call these people, marching with torches at our alma mater, UVA. Did you see? Where were you?
Yeah, that was tough too. And then I remember talking to the coaching staff afterwards, and like the fact that it happened on UVA's campus, and UVA doesn't look like this, and like these people are not part of the UVA community.
Right.
It's really tough because it got labeled with UVA.
Right.
So that was tough, and I remember him saying like, how do you explain this to recruits? Like, how do you get black recruits to still come here after somebody died, like after all of this nonsense that took place. So again, as much as I love UVA, while I was there and afterwards, it has had some dark moments.
Yeah,
Definitely one of them. So yeah, this is tough.
and I was gonna say for you, now that you've traveled the world essentially and seen so many different things, like what are your thoughts on just like the comparison? We're thinking obviously the infrastructure here in the United States, the police, the militarized police, the things like that. Do you feel that in other countries? Do you feel that in other areas that you're, as a black man in other regions of the country? Do you feel racism as well?
In other countries,
Especially police. I'm thinking in terms of police.
like, police. The only encounter, or that could have somewhat been negative, with me, with the police, was in Brazil, and I was like downtown hanging out. I was waiting for somebody, and it was nighttime, and then I get surrounded by policemen, and then one of them recognizes me. It's like, you play basketball for Flamengo? I was like, yeah. And then the air just, everything dissipated. But that's the only kind of encounter like that I've had. And I mean, nothing happened because, one, I stick out in the sense that in Argentina, they're not going to mistake me for an Argentinian. It's pretty clear that I'm American. And even in Brazil, the second that I open my mouth, they know I'm not Brazilian.
Right.
So, and I'm also 6'9" too. So it's like,
it's not quite fair, but
it's not quite fair. And I have to always, when I get asked questions like that, I have to, first state that like my experience is not the norm, but, I have friends and I've talked to people who've had a lot worse experiences than I have with the police.
right.
But as far as like being overseas, like I haven't had any negative experiences with the police.
And then the last one I was going to ask you is, we have, where is it? The best hair in UVA history. Here, I'll pull it up here. Let's see if it'll pull up.
I'm biased. I think Doug sent this to me, but I'm biased.
All right, we did the most underrated. Okay, what are your thoughts before you even see it in terms of UVA hair history?
Oh, it's absolutely Andy Burns. It's not even close.
we left him off.
We left him off. It's for sure Andy Burns.
He's on the all snub list.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, on this list, I can't stand Mommy's hair. I can't stand it. I did not like. I wasn't a fan of the blonde.
The blonde demolition man.
I loved it. I loved Kyle Guy's man bun. I loved it. So I'm going with Kyle Guy. I loved it. His first year, yeah, I was all about that.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was very polarizing. A lot of people thought it was. I was just like, he could have owned that from a marketing standpoint, like in terms of. But I get it. He wanted to take the attention away from his hair. London's hair always special for whatever reason. The old school flat top was.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of the braids when John Tell and Mike Sky did the braids.
Yeah, the braids were cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
Keep them until they make the tournament. I was a fan of that. And
then Tomas did it as well.
Yeah.
Fresh with the clean cut hair.
Yeah.
Had to
do
it.
Where'd all that hair go?
Stop it. Leave it alone, yo.
And Barry Parkhill still got it.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah, there it is.
No Country for Old Men. Let's go. And then Fresh, your question.
All right, Jerome. This is like your criteria. There's no right or wrong answer. We do the Mount Rushmore of UVA basketball.
Give you 5 though. 5, not 4.
Your 5, your 5 best in the history of UVA.
5 best in the history of UVA. It's tough because, again, I didn't know UVA until I went there. So for my time, I'm gonna put Sampson there because, again, everybody knows him, and then the other 4, I'm going to choose from my era or the people when
Yeah, that's fair. Very fair. Good caveat.
So I put Sampson. I put Singletary. I'm putting Malcolm Brogdon.
He's not your era, but that's fine.
I'm putting Monica Wright.
I like it.
Who's that?
The best female player to play at UVA.
Dawn Staley.
The second best, but that's all right.
Second
4.
best.
You got 4.
I love it.
I love it.
That's 4. Who am I gonna put as 5? 5 is a tough one.
Let's pick a championship player.
Pick a championship player. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm taking DeAndre Hunter. They're taking MVP.
I like it. It's a solid list. How you feel about that, Fresh?
I love it. I think is Jerome the first guy to do a woman?
No.
No.
After me?
First one to pick Monica
After
Wright.
me.
Monica Wright, definitely.
A couple people picked Dawn Staley.
Yeah. Dawn Staley's been on a few times.
I was early in the game though. I was early to the Dawn Staley game, for the record.
Dougie, you don't have an issue with his 5? Because I dropped a hint earlier who should be on his list.
Right.
Yeah, we told him there was foreshadowing, right?
I told you Dougie talks about things in every conversation.
Jerome,
I said foreshadowing.
I didn't watch it play, so it wouldn't be fair.
Yeah,
he's a math guy. He's a math econ guy. He's not a history buff.
True. Right.
I have no. I do, but I don't. That's my guy.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you so much jumping on. This was amazing. It's awesome to talk you through all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think fans are gonna love it. We haven't heard from you in a while, but obviously everybody wants to follow you as much as it's hard though in some of these leagues you're in.
For sure. Yeah,
I think
I don't even have air conditioning in the gym, so
I'm gonna guess a Twitch feed is a little much to ask.
Right.
No, Jerome, we gotta do a quick podcast later all in Portuguese.
Yeah, you guys
want to do
it. You can do any if you want to do a stretch in Portuguese. We can do that.
Pode ser.
Mas
a gente já falou de tudo, então o que falta para falar em português?
Não falou nada, mas só falar português, né? Porque lá
só para mostrar que a gente consegue falar, que a gente está mostrando para todo mundo. Olha, a gente pode falar português. Ninguém entende o que a gente está falando.
Rapaz, pensa nas 2 pessoas. Pensa nos 2 jogadores de uma faculdade que fala português fluente. Não existe, né? Nós 2.
Nas épocas diferentes. Uma época antes. Pois é.
Só na grudadas épocas. Now, we could do one, though. He has a big following. I'm telling you, he's got a big following in Flamengo.
Yeah. No, I'm serious.
Me and him can do one.
You can totally do one. We can put it on YouTube. You guys would have to give me the words, the description and stuff, obviously, but I'm down.
I think it's a great idea.
I'm down to do it. Yeah. Or if you want to do it, like Jerome, if you want to do anything like that, we can help you later next season or whatever. If you want to do something, we can help you at least push it out in whatever way, shape, or form through Locker Room X's as an option. If you're like, I want to do this, whatever blog I want to do. I mean, we've got a pretty decent sized following now, so you're welcome to use it anytime for whatever reason you need.
I appreciate it.
I will say, what's that commercial? The most interesting man in the world.
Yeah,
Dos Equis.
Dos Equis. I think Jerome might be the most interesting UVA basketball player.
Yeah. What list do we put Jerome on? We always do a list when we launch these where you're the top answer. What do we put? What do you think the list is for Jerome?
List.
He's like
Most interesting,
Most interesting or the smartest?
best at calculus.
calculus.
Impressive. He's definitely one of the
micro.
What about highest GPA? No, I'm just kidding. People won't know that.
No, he might be the road less traveled too, right?
There's a lot. Right. There's a lot. You look at there's
the road less traveled. He could have gone Ed Burton, take the Wall Street job, chase the money, or chase
in the first place
his life, man.
Was it it happened pretty quickly. That road didn't appear till the end. Yeah.
There's a lot of options. We're gonna have to work on what list do we come with this podcast? So Jerome, what happens is we put the list out and people react, and your podcast link stays at the top of that. Does that make sense? So people then like the best hair one, like Gus Gerard's podcast is in the top of that, and then there's like people back and forth, and it stays at the top of whatever, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and it keeps that podcast in the top of everyone's inbox essentially. So it's kind of a trick that we use. So I have to come up with something. Maybe the most underrated again. I don't know. Yeah, we'll play around with it. Most underrated? Most improved? Most improved is a good one.
Yeah, I put myself in that category too, for the record.
Yeah, most improved. Maybe it is most improved from first to last year in terms of numbers. Yeah, that might be so obvious though. Like you think, look back on it, maybe Jason Rogers, maybe.
No, but who else comes out their fourth year compared to not playing?
Not playing to them because being pro.
And you talked a lot of stuff about the confidence thing, man. In my time, we had guys in my time who were real talented, and they would be like, I'm gonna play for a minute and looking over my shoulder, right? And it's like when you're on the court, man, if you're not looking over your shoulder, you can do your thing. So I 100% get it. Yeah, have you guys seen his highlights in Flamengo?
A little bit.
Dunking. Just dunking on everybody.
The continuous improvement from UVA on it's pretty awesome to see. I remember you played against the NBA team preseason.
Yeah, we played against.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We played against the Magic twice. We played against the Grizzlies. We played against the Suns. And then I've also played against the Raptors.
And you had some good games.
Yeah, there's some Raptors. I had 22.
Yeah.
And then the Suns, we played them competitively until the end. The first time we played Orlando was competitive until the end. The second time we played Orlando, they blew us out. But we played the Grizzlies, and I remember that game. It was fun. It was when Vince Carter was playing for the Grizzlies, and they had Mar Gasol, they had Tony Allen, Courtney Lee, point guard Conley, and Zach Randolph. So we come out and we start 12-0. We had 12-0 run. We're feeling good. We're coming to timeout. Everybody is feeling good. I hear the coach cursing them out from our bench. I hear him cursing them out. So, okay, he does his thing. He curses them out. We go back on there. We can't advance the ball to past half court.
Right.
Can't advance. Next thing you know, I look up, it's 27-12. Wow. We couldn't advance the ball past half court. They locked in, and then I've never felt so small as when I was defending Mar Gasol. And one time he caught the ball, and I was like, he's going to spin baseline. He spun baseline. There's nothing I could do. I couldn't stop it. Couldn't stop it. Even when I thought that I cut him off, like he's so big and agile, he can move. He looks big on TV compared to Mar Gasol can move. He's fast and quick. So I had him cut off one time. He spun and went to the other eyes. Yeah,
and he's large.
Large. Again,
that's one thing for me.
Elite.
Brazilian players are missing are the handles. They don't have the same handles.
But you know why? They don't start so young. They don't start as young, and they don't have when they're young.
No, you know why? They start with their feet.
Soccer, yeah.
Exactly.
They don't start with their hands. Yeah.
Footwork on point though.
Right. That's a difference. And I remember the game was already over. They're up 20-something. Vince Carter checks into the game, and it was a fast break. Now I had a chance to go and contest his three, but like I saw him and I was like, that's Vince Carter. I'm gonna let him shoot it.
That's awesome, though, man. I always wondered, man, that you had to have a shot in the NBA. But I guess
Yeah,
a lot of it's your agent too. Wouldn't you say?
yeah. I mean, I could have made a different choice with agents. One that had more NBA connections coming out of UVA, but he wanted me to go to Phoenix and train with him the whole summer. Because his deal was, you got to train with me. I have to make sure you're in
Ready.
shape and do everything before I send you to the NBA guys. And I just wasn't willing to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
No regrets.
Yeah,
10
man.
countries, 10 years, 9 cities, 3 languages up until now.
That's 10 lifetimes for most people.
Right.
That's what life's all about, man. Me and you write a book together, yo.
Right.
Collaboration.
You should. Absolutely.
For real.
That's awesome, though. We appreciate you. And I'm going to stop recording. We don't have to hang up.